Have you ever noticed that in some rooms you walk into, you instantly feel smaller? It's not because anybody insults you or even makes any comment about you, but you just feel like these people are operating at a different level and you haven't given yourself permission to be there. I mean, the issue is why hanging around high performers makes you feel uncomfortable, right? That's what it is. And we want to talk about that today and how you can shift your mind. So, first, this is the Company One podcast. I am Dale Callahan, and I help people take control of their income so they're not dependent on their employers. And that's the key thing we're talking about today is getting control. And one of the things to get control of is growth. And growth doesn't come in comfort. We all know that, right? It does. We know that about weights, doing any kind of physical activity, training for a musical skill, whatever it is. There's discomfort before growth, discomfort with growth. So I want to talk through this in terms of the people that you hang around. So the idea here that you're probably very familiar with is the idea of the 5 people you hang around. They always say whether it's 5, whether it's 3, I don't know. If you look in scripture, you see this modeled out. Jesus didn't hang around a whole bunch of people. He hung around sinners and all kinds of people, but his core network was the disciples, the people that he was going with. Now, obviously, Jesus wasn't worried about the influence on him, but it was this core network concept. And so the disciples were hanging around a higher performer, right? And God himself. But that concept you see played out because we learn from the people that we are around. And the 5 people concept is that if you take the 5 people you hang around most, friends, family members, whatever, they're the people that influence your thinking. And the model is always you could probably average their salary, and that's probably your salary. You can average their performance, that's probably your performance. And so that is the idea that we look at here as we start thinking about why hanging around high performers feel uncomfortable. And why that's the point. You and I need to feel uncomfortable. Not all the time, but sometime. Else there is zero growth. So let's first talk about, number 1, the discomfort that we don't really talk about, right? We don't ever drive this there. It's kind of a silent signal, if you will. When you're around people playing a bigger game, our brain looks for an exit. And it's, we're like, we feel quiet, we feel behind, we feel exposed. Like everybody can tell, I don't belong in this room. I don't belong with these people. And our brain kicks in that, hey, this is a danger. And it causes me some discomfort because high performers, this is the thing that's really weird, is you feel like you're being insulted and belittled. And looking back, I never see these high performers that I've been around at different times say anything that made me feel behind or belittled. I felt it. Actually, I feel more belittled being around low performers, because that's what we do, right? High performers don't need to knock you in your own space. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to knock you down for their own insecurity. This discomfort, though, is because of our contrast to the people we're around, not judgment from them. And so again, our nervous system sees this as a threat, but this isn't a bad thing, right? This is growth. Like if you've ever played a musical instrument and you're trying to play something new, it's discomfort. It doesn't feel right. If you're in a sport and you're trying something new, or if you're, I remember trying to play golf and the guy was saying, no, hold the club like this, swing like this. I'm like, that doesn't feel right at all. That's so unnatural. But trying to move me through the discomfort to being a better performer. And so we know that we tend to discomfort. I was watching a video by Dan Martell this morning. I think it was on LinkedIn, and he was asking ChatGPT about how would you destroy young men. And one of the things it said basically was keep them comfortable, which if you are a believer, or if you're not, it doesn't matter. The book, The Screw Tape Letter, The Screw Tape Letter talks about if the devil was going to ruin and minimize the Christians, keep them comfortable. There would be no growth. So that was one of the many things Screw Tape Letter says. But the so now we look back. Let's flip that. I mean that's the danger sign that we see, and let's flip this to why are comfortable rooms so addictive? Or why is it so addictive to want to hang around with people? And this may sound stupid, right? But why do we want to hang around the people that we feel like are like us? Because they're like us. They're comfortable. Comfortable rooms, they don't ask much of you. You step into them, and you can just. I mean, and this sounds weird. You can be yourself, and I don't mean that we should ever be anything but ourselves, but we can relax and not try to raise our game. We cannot try to grow. We cannot. And here's the really big thing: we don't have to see the gap of what we could be, which is really, really tough. When you start looking at the gap of what you could be. So if I'm around people that I am better, and that's what we usually think of, is we think of, am I better than everybody else in that room? And you look around, yeah, I'm better. I mean, you do it. I know it. We all do it. Am I better? And they're probably thinking the same about you and me, right? They're better for whatever reason, maybe in different categories, because none of us are perfect in anything. But that's what we're doing. Is I want to be looking around the room thinking I'm just as good. I'm better. I'm better. I'm better. Maybe in a performance area, maybe in a salary, maybe in the kind of car I drive, whatever it is. We need to feel that way. We need to feel some sense of belonging and superiority that at least brings us, I at least want to feel equivalent. And that's what keeps us stuck. That's what keeps us stuck. If you keep playing a musical piece, the same musical piece over and over, will you get better at that piece? My experience, and I don't back this up, but my experience, not that I'm any kind of great musician, but is no, you don't get better at that piece until you try something harder. And I've seen this even in learning. When I was learning in engineering school, learning mathematics, I never really learned algebra until I got to the next thing. I never really learned Algebra 2 and trig until I was into calculus. I never really learned calculus basically until I got into more advanced calculus. It never clicked. I mean, I could do it, but I didn't understand it. It never clicked until I moved and grew. And that's what we're talking about. You've got to grow to even appreciate where you are now. I mean, that sounds a little weird, but you do. You have to grow to appreciate where you are now. So the comfortable rooms are addictive. And I'm not saying we should never be in comfortable rooms, but when you are in one, this is what you're going to notice. You're going to be talking about the same kind of drama. Many might talk about their work, but in a negative way. We make fun of meetings. We make fun of the boss. We talk about the failures of the company. We talk about how we are better performers than the other people around, and we share stories, right? We don't usually talk about opportunities and growth. We don't. We might talk about our kids and their opportunities and growth, but we rarely will talk about our opportunities to truly grow to where we might be pushing people. So those are some signs I have noticed when I am in a room and I am feeling comfortable. Am I feeling equivalent, superior to these people in some way? Do I feel like I belong? And do I feel like I've accomplished just as much as they've accomplished in whatever category it is? I'm at church, do I feel like I'm the most spiritual, the most connected to Christ in the room? And sometimes you will be. Sometimes you will feel that way. Sometimes you may be the best in the category in a room. And we're not talking about sometimes, we're talking about, is that all the time? Is that all the time? I'm pitching to you, if you can't tell, that you need to be discomfort. I mean, you need to be uncomfortable at times. You need to feel like there's a stretch between you and that other person or those other people. So here's number 3, is the lie we are telling ourselves. And this is what you need to get in your head. Because what we do when we're uncomfortable, we say, I don't belong here yet. Now, usually what we will say is, I don't belong here, period. We might be wise enough to think, I don't belong here yet, but I don't belong here, period. I see this so often when people are in corporate settings and for whatever reason they're having to hang around people at a higher level. We always hear the C-suite, a term I really can't stand because what does it really mean? But we mean the people who are the officers or the leaders or the strategic thinkers of the company, supposedly. They're not always that, but they have the title, right? And when people have to go sit in on those meetings or they are in that group of people for whatever reason, and it's not who they are usually hanging around, extreme discomfort. I've had many, many of these phone calls. How do I act when I get into this meeting? What do I do different? I'm not used to this. What do these people want to hear? I don't belong. I mean, I've had these conversations hundreds and hundreds of times with clients. And we will tell ourselves we don't belong. We will tell ourselves, I'll speak up when I'm ready. And we'll even tell ourselves, I need one more credential. I need one more promotion to belong in this room. I need one more thing to belong in this room. Whatever it is, right? It depends on the room, depends on who they are. But we'll feel like I need something else to belong. We'll feel short. We'll feel a gap, right? And if you only hang around people at your level, this never changes. You never feel this way. And this is a core belief shift. And I am pitching to you, I hope you get that, you need this shift. You need this shift. You need to do this. Oftentimes we call this imposter syndrome. Is the word you hear throwing out there. I feel like an imposter being in this room. And it's real. And by the way, you never outgrow it. I have been around people who have had extreme success in their areas, people who are New York Times bestsellers, people who have had successful businesses and sold them out, taken them public, done all kinds of things we would consider raving successes. And they're back in the game and they feel extremely insecure. One guy told me, he says, I've hit this pinnacle that everybody else thinks I'm a success, so anything I do from now on is going to be judged from that success. And now I'm hanging around people who have multiple successes and I don't feel worthy because I just got lucky. Right? So that mentality, it's there. You will never, ever get past it. I'm pretty sure of that. You will never get past it. You might think, well, if I'm the richest person in the world, I'm past it. Probably not. I don't think that's the case, because there's always some other way you're measuring yourself against people. And this isn't bad, right? We think of this as comparing. We talk about it all the time. It's not bad. If you're looking at people who are ahead of you in a way that you want to win. If you're looking at people just doing trivial things and that are just showy, or not living a lifestyle that you admire, but I'm talking about people that you admire, people that are doing things where you would like to be where they are. That's the kind of people that you got to stop telling yourself this lie. So 4, let's think about how high performers actually think about You and me, when we're in the room and there are higher performers, and again, there's always higher performers in some category. How do they think about you? What are they thinking? And the weird thing is, we're probably thinking they're looking down their noses at us. They're thinking you're not good enough to be in the room. All the things we're thinking. But that's not what they're thinking. They're not concerned about that at all. They may totally recognize that you have not succeeded in the way that you would like to, and you're in the room that you don't belong, that you feel that way. They may totally see that. I mean, I've seen that many times before where people realize, hey, Johnny over there is new. He's an up and comer, maybe they'll say. And it's so weird because high performers, people that have had success, oftentimes want to help you. They're not looking down at you. They're looking at you with admiration for stepping up. They're looking at you like, I used to be there and I grew. And in a weird, twisted way, you inspire them because you are trying to grow, and it makes them look in the mirror and say, I need to be growing too. And I'm going to help this guy, or I'm going to help this girl. I want to help them do things. And it's weird because they really do. Successful people like helping people become successful. Twist, right? But it's always true. The people who don't want and who want to beat you down and hold you in your place are usually ones that are trying to look successful, but they're not. It's weird because they respect your initiative to show up in the room. They're not looking for your polish. The fact that you may do something so unorthodox, or you didn't dress the part right, or might be funny and comical to them, and I don't mean in a put down way, but they'll find it humorous that you are showing up no matter what, and that is inspiring, and they like it. And silence is normal when you're learning a new room. You're like you don't. It's not that you don't need to speak up, but you just may not know what to say. I remember, excuse me. I remember being in a room. I was put on a committee one time, and I thought I belonged in the room. I mean, I walked in the room quite cocky, thinking, I belong here. I have a lot of value to add. And within a few minutes of being in the room, I realized the people in the room were so far above me in terms of what they knew about this subject. And so I was thankful that I kept my mouth shut for just a minute, because I kind of went in cocky and realized there's nothing to be cocky about. I know nothing. I mean, I really and totally feel like I went from cocky to ignorant in about 15 to 20 seconds. And I was silent. I mean, I really sat in this whole meeting saying very little. I probably wasn't totally silent, but it was a meeting of people. And it really, really helped me because, number one, I thought, wow, I got so much to learn. And these people know stuff that I don't know. These people have experiences that I haven't experienced. And it really drew me to them. Instead of being cocky and feeling like I knew something, I wanted what they had. And that was, and they became great mentors in many different ways. And many of them would say they weren't really mentors to me. We were peers. They didn't look at it that way. But I didn't feel that way. I felt I was in a room I didn't belong in. And I was. I really think I was. I think I really had a lot to learn. So one of the things that, I mean, the real point, excuse me, the real point here of discomfort, number 5, just to pull this around to you, it shows you the gap. Like I was just saying, I got in this room, I saw the gap. I wanted to close the gap. I wanted what they had. I wanted some of the things they had. I mean, if you get around people and they got a nicer car or something, I want a nicer car, or it's December right now when we're recording this, and we're out and seeing different people at parties and various things, and we're seeing inside people's houses, meeting with people in different ways. And there's things, hey, I really like what they've done. I mean, I've been on many people's properties and things in the last couple of days, some for business reasons, some for just holiday get-togethers. And you're like, wow, they did this. They did this really awesome. It may be something simple with their house, right? They did this awesome. Ideas, right? We get ideas from seeing what other people did. But there's also a gap. Like, they've done amazing things with their home. They've done amazing things with their business. I was on a guy's property yesterday. He owns hundreds of acres. We own hundreds of acres. And I was just like, we were riding around and it was like, wow, you've done some really cool things. And he just seems like he's so far above it. And I realize in property, that sounds silly, but this guy's a successful business guy. And the way he just thought about the opportunities was different. And it was like a stretch. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm falling so short. And it really stretched me to think about, what can we do better? What can we do to serve people better? And just amazing things. I mean, I've actually been on 2 different properties doing 2 different things in the last couple of weeks with these business guys. Guys are very wealthy, and how they're using their properties to serve people, to grow their business and things that you just wouldn't think of. I mean, I'm thinking it's just property, but so it's discomfort is not a sign here to leave the room. It's a signal. It's a signal to you that you found the right one. So I was at a dinner the other night for a Christmas dinner, and one of the guys in there was telling me that when he was in school, probably 8th, 9th grade, he was a C student. He said, I was fine. I was in my thing. In the school he was at, it was not cool to be an A student. He says, you're a nerd. He said, so he was right in there in the mix. And then they moved to a city, and the public school there was one of the highest rated schools in the nation. And he said, suddenly I was around people that thought different. Not his teachers. He said it wasn't the teachers, it wasn't the school, it wasn't the money, maybe the parents a lot. Probably the parents really was a lot. He says, but my peers, the people that were my age and became my friends, they didn't think about academics that way. They thought you performed at the highest level. And he said, I realized, he said, I thought I was a good student. I thought I knew stuff. I thought I understood, and I was just coasting. I was cool with that. And I got here, and I realized that's not acceptable in this environment. And he said, it really shook me, and it pushed me. He says, but I became a straight A student. Now, I'm not a guy that thinks academics is everything, but his point was, I suddenly found myself around peers that pushed me to a higher level. That it wasn't just about, did you make the baseball team or the football team or the basketball team, whatever. It was performing at a higher level. And he said it changed everything for me from then on, because it changed how I thought about the people I'm around. And even today, the kind of business he's in, the kind of activity he does, I think probably lies back to learning. In his case, he didn't get a chance to choose the discomfort. He was put into the discomfort. Unfortunately, or fortunately, we get a chance to choose. We get a chance to choose who we're around and whether we want to be uncomfortable or not. So I just want to say, think about this over the next month. We're going into 2026 if you're listening to this podcast as it pops out here. But over the next couple of days, just notice. You don't have to do nothing. Just notice. Am I in this room that calms me? That I feel totally comfortable in? I feel like I'm maybe even superior in? Or am I in a room that I feel discomfort? That I feel stretches me? And you don't need to judge them. I mean, I think because it's not about the people, it's about you. How are you thinking? And then if you can find some way, if you can just stop pretending that these rooms that you're in does not have does not have any effect on your future. Stop pretending that. They do. The people you hang around, the level of people you hang around, the performance, how they think, whatever it is that matters to you, that's who you're becoming. It matters to your future. All right, if this hits home with you today, this is the kind of thinking we do every week on this podcast. We're here to help you grow. We're here to help you ultimately grow your income so you are not dependent on your employer, which the average person is dependent. The kind of rooms that I try to be in are people who are not dependent on an employer, a customer, or anything. They're finding opportunity and they're serving at a higher level. This is the kind of things we're going to talk about here. And if you want to check out my LinkedIn newsletter called The Company of One, it's no motivation. It's just focused on clarity. I'll talk to you next week.